The finale of Fallout Season 2, The Strip, is a culmination of the series' exploration of power, morality, and the consequences of the apocalypse. The episode is praised for its cohesive storytelling, emotional depth, and the way it sets the stage for future seasons. Robert House's return. The episode features a digital version of Robert House, played by Macaulay Culkin, who is now powered by cold fusion. This character serves as a navigation tool for the ghoul, who is searching for his family. "You bet on hope and you lost," says a digital, wrist-mounted Robert House as the ghoul peers into the empty cryopods he believed his wife and daughter would be contained in. That may be true for the irradiated Cooper Howard, but it's not for us. We bet our hopes on Season 2 of Fallout finding a way to bring all of its wild ideas together. And it did. Well, mostly. As credits roll and our attention turns to what awaits us beyond the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, a few errant threads are left dangling without satisfying conclusions. Was the entire Vault 31 story just set up for a third season? And what became of the warring Brotherhood of Steel clans? Yet, despite not offering the true sense of closure that the very best season finales offer, The Strip remains a great episode of Fallout that creates connections, answers questions, and caps off all the most important aspects of this eccentric trip to New Vegas. Stetson hats off to showrunners Graham Wagner and Geneva Robertson-Warrett, who really did make it through the entire season without ever confirming a canon ending to Fallout, New Vegas. There is a cheeky nod. "Over the years my body became a target for wandering travelers with something to prove," does suggest that House's withered husk of a body that survived through the centuries of apocalypse may have been killed by the courier, but I'm pleased the show stops short of invalidating any individual playthrough. However, I do think House's return feels thinly examined. We know he's a genius, but how exactly did he achieve this artificial form that's dependent on cold fusion? I'm surprised that the game's platinum chip didn't come into play here, retconned into some kind of AI survival data drive. Perhaps answers await in Season 3, as that flicking screen in the episode's final moments certainly suggests we haven't seen the last of Robert House. While House's return is a significant moment for Fallout lore, his role in this finale is more or less as a navigation tool for the ghoul, who's finally given access to Vault-Tech's management vault. I expect some viewers will be frustrated that the journey to find the ghoul's family, which has been unfolding for 2 whole seasons now, ends in nothing but a postcard pointing to Colorado. But that line, "You bet on hope and you lost," really does make clear that the ghoul is now closer to reclaiming his identity as Cooper Howard than ever before. Hope is a symptom of humanity, and even this setback can't break it. Barb and Janie may not be in Vegas, but they are alive. Where? Well, that's hopefully a question Season 3 will answer. Much of the ghoul's share of this episode examines his more emotional side, including the flashbacks, which show how Cooper took the fall for his and Barb's involvement in un-American activities, in an effort to keep his family safe. It's a shame, then, that very little is made of his reunion with Lucy, who has been so responsible for restoring his humanity. While he saves her from being brainwashed by Hank, the pair are given no real space to reconcile earlier events. Regardless of how they feel, guilty or validated, the finale passes by the opportunity for an emotionally challenging conversation. Thankfully, Lucy does get her emotional moment, but it's with her actual father, not her surrogate one. After triggering his own brainwashing to prevent himself from spilling the beans on what his mind control project has really been about, Hank becomes the parent Lucy always thought he was: kind, gentle, loving. There's a Black Mirror quality to this, a bittersweet moment made possible only via a sinister technology. Both Kyle MacLachlan and Ella Purnell have been wonderful throughout this season, but these precious few seconds are among their best turns on the show so far. Such a sad moment is instantly contrasted by the arrival of Maximus. His and Lucy's embrace is truly genuine, a healing antidote to the synthetic love that Hank offered in all his forms. The hug is equally important to Maximus, who by this point has spent most of the episode being beaten to a pulp by Deathclaws in a battle that lives up to the promise made by that tease in the credits of Season 1's finale. After numerous false starts, we got there in the end. Missiles rupture flesh and jaws are torn from skulls in a gory fight that successfully communicates the exhaustion and overwhelming odds of going toe-to-toe with the wasteland's biggest bruisers. It's seeing Maximus out of the armor, though, armed with nothing but a pole and wielding a roulette table as a shield, that really showcases his growth. He doesn't need steel plating to defend the needy, because he's finally become the good man his dad said he would. Of course, a pole is no match for a Deathclaw, so thankfully the NCR turns up, Avengers, Endgame style, to save the day. While it's satisfying to see Maximus reunited with his people, decades after the Shady Sands bombing tore them apart, the real joy here is the recreation of the slow-motion sniper shot from Fallout, New Vegas's opening cinematic. It's pure fan service, but I can't deny that I genuinely gasped with glee. Beyond the strip, we catch up with Caesar's Legion, which hasn't been seen since the season's third episode. Releasing a long-held pause button, we finally get to see the aftermath of the battle the Ghoul initiated between the Legion's rival groups. Macaulay Culkin's Lacerda Leggett, now falsely crowned the one true Caesar, gets to make an incredibly good joke about taking control of Vegas and building Caesar's palace atop it. The NCR may have rid the strip of the Deathclaws, but it seems like an even meaner beast is on the way. You'll have noticed by now that several paragraphs of this review have ended by looking ahead to Season 3. This is a very forward-facing finale, and while it does a lot of good work to establish groundwork for the future, it often does so at the expense of closure. After playing important roles early in the season, the NCR and Legion were largely pushed to the sides, and so a conflict that should have been key to this region of Fallout's world was held on ice. Now, at a point where our characters' missions in Vegas are complete, Lucy has dealt with her father, the Ghoul has found his family, that war is only just gearing up again, which will either keep us shackled to the strip, or see its violence spill out into the wider wasteland. I'd like to be proven wrong, but I feel like what happens in New Vegas should stay contained to the season about New Vegas. The biggest offender, though, is the story of the vaults, which have effectively been a multi-episode tease for what awaits next season. There have been no consequences for Reg's ridiculous, snack-happy inbreeding support group. No resolution for Norm's discovery of the forced evolutionary virus. No link between Steph's Canadian roots and her plans for the vaults. None of the characters have undergone any meaningful growth, and none of them have arrived at an exciting destination. While there have definitely been interesting revelations, Hank's connections to the Enclave and Steph's triggering of the shadowy faction's mystery, Phase 2, certainly make it clear that this story hasn't been worthless. It's been the most frustrating material to watch and suffers greatly from having limited definition and no conclusion. It could also be said that the Brotherhood of Steel's story has been left without any kind of closure, as the show completely abandoned the faction's civil war just as it ignited. I'm less concerned about this, as the Brotherhood's actions were always complementary to Maximus' journey rather than a key plot in their own right, and the complete breakdown of Quintus' alliance ultimately felt like a conclusion to simmering tensions rather than the start of something bigger. However, this season's post-credits scene does promise Quintus will be back with a bang. The reveal that he's in possession of the blueprints to Liberty Prime no doubt had an army of Fallout fans leaping from their seats. Considering the show's track record in bringing the game's icons to life, I can't wait to see this gargantuan robot stride across the battlefields of Season 3. With a number of storylines left without any significant sense of closure, the concluding episode of Fallout Season 2 does feel more like a midpoint than a finale. But while it's unable to make this collection of 8 episodes feel like a complete arc, it does connect all the pieces together and provide answers to many of this season's most pressing questions. Its greatest achievement, though, is hitting well-earned emotional milestones for its central characters, be they bittersweet goodbyes, renewed hopes, or simply being the bravest kid in a missile-firing suit of armor. It's been a wild ride through the wasteland in Fallout Season 2, but the time has come to say goodbye for now. After 7 episodes of quirky post-apocalyptic fun, outrageously bloody shootouts, and mind-bending sci-fi, the show continues to juggle multiple timelines and factions, and the scale this year is noticeably larger. The story stretches across the wasteland, the vaults, and the lingering ghosts of pre-war America, layering conspiracy upon conspiracy. Instead of just exploring survival, Season 2 digs deeper into control: who has it, who thinks they have it, and who gets crushed under it. That thematic expansion gives the narrative more weight, even if the tighter focus of Season 1 sometimes feels missed. Visually and tonally, the series remains a knockout. The production design still nails that cheerful 1950s optimism rotting under nuclear ruin. Shiny corporate tech sits beside rusted-out horror, and the contrast never gets old. Action sequences are bigger and more chaotic this season, but the show doesn't lose its streak of pitch-black comedy. Limbs fly, morals crumble, and someone inevitably cracks a dry joke in the middle of disaster. That balance between absurdity and bleakness continues to define the show's identity. Twists and turns, the Fallout Season 2 finale has arrived. All the cards are on the table as Lucy, Ella Purnell, the Ghoul, Walton Goggins, and Maximus, Aaron Moten, try to survive the horrors of New Vegas. Will Cooper Howard be reunited with his family? Can Lucy untangle the intricate mind games of her father? And can Maximus withstand the onslaught of an entire pack of Deathclaws? Emotionally, this season is heavier. Consequences linger longer, and the sense of safety, even relative safety, erodes. Characters are forced to confront who they really are when survival conflicts with ethics. That tonal shift makes the story more mature, but also less breezy than the first season's blend of shock and novelty. The fun is still there, it's just edged with more dread. The action and creature design remain highlights. Encounters with the dangers of the wasteland are staged with creativity and just enough horror to keep things tense without tipping into pure misery. The show understands that spectacle works best when tied to character stakes, and most of the big set pieces serve emotional turning points rather than existing just to look cool. If there's a central weakness, it's that the mystery elements don't feel as fresh the second time around. Part of Season 1's magic came from discovering how this version of Fallout would interpret familiar lore. Now that the framework is established, revelations have to work harder to surprise. Some twist in the closing moments of the final episode of Fallout Season 2, the Ghoul finally reaches the end of his main quest, except it's not the end. He discovers that his missing family are not inside their designated cryotubes in New Vegas after all, a major bummer after he spent 200 years searching for them. On the bright side, he now knows they're alive, and his wife Barbara has left him a clue as to where they are. He finds a postcard from Colorado in her cryotube. The season ends, except for an intriguing post-credit sequence with another clue about Fallout Season 3, with the Ghoul walking off to Colorado to find them. So, what do we know about Colorado in Fallout lore? The games have never taken us there, though one almost did, and the state has been mentioned a few times, both in games and in the Fallout show. Most notably, Colorado, along with Arizona, Nevada, and Utah, was the setting of Van Buren, codename of the original version of Fallout 3 that was developed by Black Owl Studios, makers of the first two Fallout games. That version of Fallout 3 was unfortunately cancelled in 2003 by publisher Interplay, which was struggling financially. Colorado, like most of the rest of the U.S., was destroyed during the Great War. In the aftermath, factions formed, including Caesar's Legion, formed by Edward Sallow, who named himself Caesar, who players meet in Fallout, New Vegas, and whose skeletal corpse is seen in Fallout Season 2. Colorado is also home to Vault Zero, located in Cheyenne, featured in Fallout Tactics. Vault Zero is the rare vault where no experiments were conducted on its residents. It was a location meant for the great minds of the pre-war to be cryogenically stored, their brains hooked into a computer called the calculator. Unfortunately, budget cuts meant the vault wasn't fully functional and most of the inhabitants suffered severe brain damage, leading the calculator to become unstable and dangerous. The Fallout TV show has also mentioned Colorado, sort of. We first see the Enclave outpost in Season 1, when Siggy Wilzig smuggles out the fusion diode, though we're never told it's actually in Colorado. It appears to be the same outpost we see at the end of the Season 2 finale. During some technical difficulties, the video's narrator states, "Vault-Tec Vault living is living the dream." And it's the only way to safety, unless you're the President of the United States or something like that, and you have a mountain in Colorado to go under and direct the events of the world. Not many of us are that. There's only one of those. And his various and sundry advisors, I'm sure they'll be fine. But you won't. You won't be fine if a vault is out of your price range. So, according to the show, the president is under Colorado in a bunker, and we just met that same president in Fallout Season 2. Interesting. I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of him. then, and I fully expect Cooper might meet him once again. The Enclave made deathclaws. The Enclave had Coop arrested after he turned cold fusion over to the President of the United States, not knowing he was doing exactly what the Enclave wanted. And it was the Enclave Hank McClane has really been working for this whole time, the one he's been in service to. His keepsake trunk held a special Enclave Pip-Boy, the one Stephanie used to call for the initiation of Phase 2. As we saw in Fallout Season 2 finale, the Enclave, an evil organization, is still everywhere, listening to everything outside of a massive site in the mountains of what appears to be the Colorado/Utah area. It's the same Enclave building we saw in Fallout Season 1 when Siggy Wilzig escaped it with cold fusion in his neck. The Enclave is not just watching the world from that headquarters. It's hearing every message that goes out into the world. It truly is the shadow power who destroyed the world and is now still running it. Cooper Howard's reward for trying to do the right thing was a pair of handcuffs. The House Un-American Activities Committee arrested him the day after the Gave's secret Enclave POTUS the Diode. Mr. House told Coop he admired him for playing the hero and wanted to make sure Coop knew he had nothing to do with his arrest. Coop then made sure his wife was not implicated. He told her to act surprised and let him take the fall alone so she could protect their daughter, Janie. A tearful Barb reluctantly agreed. Hank had given up on convincing his daughter Lucy to see his vision for the world. But he hadn't given up on making her agree with him. He was going to use the miniaturized mind control chip he'd fine-tuned to make her the daughter he wanted. If the ghoul had not shown up and shot Hank in the ass, Lucy would now be under Hank's control. Instead, she put the chip on him as a deterrent. Or so she thought. Hank told Lucy the vaults were never the experiment of this dystopian world. It's the surface itself. He didn't explain what that meant, but he did tell her his new R&D chip is already out in the wasteland. People he implanted with the device are not carrying orders written centuries ago, presumably by the persons at the Enclave responsible for destroying the world. We don't know what that mission is. We won't even know who is carrying those ominous orders out because of Hank's successful miniaturization. Poor, good, wholesome, malice-free Congresswoman Diane Welch wasn't just a computerized brain on a desk. It turns out she was alive until Lucy granted her the sweet reprieve of death. Hank and the Enclave had kept Diane alive as the ideal model for the nice people Hank was making in her image. Horrifying stuff. It wasn't all bad for Lucy this episode. She finally reunited with the best person in the wasteland, Maximus. The two met in House's penthouse high above New Vegas. Max survived his brave encounter with the swarm of Deathclaws after he got an unexpected assist. The new California Republic was down, but it wasn't out. The NCR arrived in New Vegas to save the day on Fallout Season 2 and gave the wasteland renewed hope. Because while the NCR is far from perfect, it's far better and has more worthwhile ideals than most other factions around New Vegas. That includes an old enemy that also found new strength in Fallout Season 2 finale. The civil war among the Legion ended with a new Caesar in Fallout Season 2's finale. Macaulay Culkin's legate found the note left by the group's founder. It named no one as successor. Leggett instead killed the soldier who found him with the dead Caesar's body, ate the note, and crowned himself the supreme leader of the group. He then said they would finally take New Vegas, setting up a pending war with its old enemy, the NCR. Lucy knows she made the latest war between Legion and NCR soldiers possible, but it might never happen. Not with Robert House still alive on his computer. Despite Coop leaving the Pip-Boy with House deep down in the vault, we saw his visage flash back inside his penthouse high above New Vegas. That means House might still control his old tech around the city in Fallout Season 2's finale. He has all the power he'll need for it, too, as he now possesses the cold fusion diode, which is locked up in his office. Even if he eventually loses it, though, it's not disappearing anytime soon. On Fallout Season 2's finale, House told the ghoul that if he blew up the diode it would destroy multiple planets, not just Earth. It's very possible House was bluffing, and not just because he runs Vegas. The diode's infinite power brought him back to life, and is the only thing sustaining him now. But while House is many things, a liar he is not. He almost certainly told his old chum the truth about the danger of destroying that little pellet of cold fusion. Quintus no longer wishes to unite the Brotherhood of Steel. He is going to destroy his enemies so he can rule. He plans to conquer those who stand in his way by turning to an iconic robot from the games, Liberty Prime Alpha, a superweapon that would make even a weakened Brotherhood an imposing force. Especially when it's commanded by an angry zealot out for vengeance. Meanwhile, in New Vegas, the ghoul encounters Robert House, Justin Theroux, whose consciousness is now housed, for the lack of a better word, within the machines inside the Lucky 38 casino. The ghoul threatens to blow up House's entire operation unless House reveals where his wife, Barbara, Frances Turner, and their daughter, Janie, Tegan Meredith, are. House also reveals to the ghoul that there are far worse people responsible for the devastation than he is, broadcasting from a Pip-Boy that he makes the ghoul wear. House guides the former Cooper Howard to Barbara and Janie's cryo chambers in a vault deep underground. The ghoul discovers that the chambers are empty, but also that Barbara left a postcard for her husband that reads, "Colorado would have been a good idea." The ghoul then says out loud, for the first time in 200 long-ass years, "I know my family is alive," and he leaves. In a flashback scene, Cooper and Barbara encounter Hank and his new fiancée, Steph Harper, Annabel O'Hagan, who was outed as a Vault Tech employee, and a Canadian, in Episode 7. Also, in the scene Cooper is apprehended by federal authorities in connection with a scene in Episode 7, when hands over a cold fusion diode to the U.S. President, Clancy Brown, not realizing the Commander-in-Chief is a member of the villainous Enclave.